Good afternoon. My name is Scott Beaver. I'm with COBRA Solutions, and today we're going to discuss the Arizona Senate Bill 1217, or what we call Arizona Mini COBRA. We performed a webinar earlier this morning, and for some reason, some people were able to speak over their with a microphone. And I think what we could do is if you could mute those and go ahead in the chat window, ask your questions. We're going to try to save everything until the end, and then we'll get them all answered for you. So with that, I'd like to thank Black Gould Associates for allowing me to come here and present this. I know that on your screen it says that my name is Mike, but I am actually Scott Beaver. Let's go ahead and start the presentation now. Oh, and I also was supposed to tell you, because I did not in the first seminar, is that we are going to show a brief presentation on the law itself. Then I'm going to show you our solution to this the law. I want to let everyone know that our solution is a software-based solution that is housed on the employer's equipment. Okay, it is not a website. So I just want to start out by saying that, otherwise I'm going to forget. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm sure all of you are aware that in April that the Senate bill was passed. And what exactly is it? And it's for continuation coverage. Okay, what it basically says is that small employers will be required to offer eligible employees and their covered dependents the right to continue medical insurance for up to 18 months upon experiencing a qualifying event. If they do elect to continue, they're responsible for the 5% administration fee. When I started out, I called this Mini COBRA, and that might be an unfair characterization, because I want you to know that there are substantial differences between federal COBRA and what we are calling Mini COBRA. Okay, first of all, we're talking this only to affect small employers. Second of all, regardless of the qualifying event experience, the qualifiers are only going to get 18 months of coverage. And then if they do elect, instead of paying the federal 2%, there's a 5% administration fee. Okay, when is this going to affect? It's for when plans renew after December 31st, 2018. So that means your January 1 renewals, those employer groups are going to be responsible for adhering to this law. Okay, who are the affected employers? Okay, it's small employers. And the law says, I always love the word average, because a buddy of mine used to always say, if you've got 1 foot in boiling hot water and 1 foot in an ice bucket, on average, you're doing okay. But in this situation, the term average is a hard calculation. So is this averaging based on 20 employees per month, per quarter? It's going to be something that will probably come out later on as to how it's going to be calculated. What I would tell you is the federal COBRA kicks in at 20 employees. So if your employer group is not offering federal COBRA continuation, they're going to be responsible for this Mini COBRA. Also, it's only for group medical insurance plans that are written in Arizona. Okay, who's eligible to continue? Well, it's employees and dependents that have been enrolled on the medical plan for a minimum of 3 months. They cannot be eligible for Medicare, and they must experience a qualifying event. What are those qualifying events? Again, very similar to what federal COBRA is. Most common one, termination of employment. Then you get a reduction in work hours where someone no longer qualifies for health benefits and are removed. You can have the employee pass away. a divorce, separation, an employee becomes eligible for Medicare, child loses dependent status or turns age 26 under the plan, or an employer bankruptcy and retired employees and dependents lose coverage. That is the only time that you are going to offer mini COBRA. Okay, what are the notification requirements? Well, employers have 30 days from the date of the event to notify the employee or covered dependent of the right to continue. Okay. They also go on to state in the law that if you do it, get it postmarked within 44 days, it's going to be considered timely. Now, why do they do that? Well, all we can assume is that in federal COBRA, the employer has 30 days to get the information to a TPA, who then has 14 days to get the information or the actual notice postmarked now. So we're thinking they're kind of following along those same lines. In regards to covered dependents not living with the employee, they're going to need to send a separate notice. The second notice that is required by this law is at open enrollment time or when your plan renews, employers are going to have to provide a letter stating, what the new rates are, if they've changed plans, the benefits that are associated with the new plan, and they have to provide that letter to both people who have elected to continue under mini COBRA and for qualifiers that are in their election period. Okay, let's talk about the election period. Qualifiers have 60 days from the date of the qualifying event letter to elect mini COBRA. Remember I had stated that they had 44 days to get that out? If they don't meet that time frame, that increases the number of days that qualifiers have to elect mini COBRA to 120. Once elected, they have 45 days to make their first premium payment. Coverage will need to be reinstated back to the date that they were terminated. So if I wait 60 days and elect to continue mini COBRA, I can't, as that qualifier, say, I don't worry about those last 2 months. I want to start today. Doesn't work that way. It is so that there is no lapse in coverage. They're responsible for the premiums all the way back to the date that they lost it. Can you ever increase the 18-month time frame that you were given? And the answer is yes. Okay? If any of the dependents experience what they call a multiple qualifying event, such as a divorce or legal separation, the death of the employee, or a dependent child loses dependent status, they will be offered or should be offered another 18 months. Another way to increase the 18-month time frame is through the disability extension. Very similar to what is offered through federal COBRA, but only this applies to just dependents. Okay, I want to make that clear. It's only for dependents who are deemed disabled by the Social Security Administration. Will receive the 11-month extension. Okay, during that 11 months, the carriers can charge 150% of the group rate. As an employer, when am I done administering the mini COBRA? Okay, well, it's going to be on the day that the participant has completed either his 18, 29, or 36 months. Okay, it'll be on the paid through date if they don't meet the payment, making timely payment with the 45-day initial one and also the 30-day grace period. It'll also, if I became eligible for Medicare, Medicaid, or if I even obtain other coverage, and that's not just group coverage, that's individual coverage, any other coverage, then I can be removed from the plan. And lastly, if the employer is shutting down the group plan for all of the employees, again, the mini COBRA participants would be removed at that time. I just want to make a side note on this because I know some people like to play on the words of what it says in the law. And, some people would think, okay, I've got a mini COBRA participant, age 65, is costing me, is hurting our experience, and therefore our rates are higher. What I'm going to do is I'm going to terminate that plan, wait a month, and then I'm going to start another plan a month later. I would highly recommend that you don't take a practice like that, because with federal COBRA, companies have been sued for it. So just don't try to manipulate the law. Okay, in regards to the law, it also has some military offerings, and it has to do with employees being called to active duty. And it's a little complex, and it's not going to affect that many people, but basically what it states is if an employee is called to active duty, what you would do as an employer is you could terminate their coverage, but not for termination of employment. You would do it for a reduction in work hours. Okay? If during that time they do not elect COBRA, but they experience a divorce or legal separation, loss of dependent status, or the employee passes away, you're going to go ahead and have to offer the mini COBRA again to the dependent. Now, for the individuals that elect to continue coverage under mini COBRA, okay, at some point they're probably going to go on TRICARE, which is the military plan. If they are termed from that, you're going to have to offer them the right to continue again, and it's a total of 18 months. How do I say it? They say tolling. In other words, if I did 4 months, then went on TRICARE, then a few years later I'm taking off TRICARE, I would still be eligible for 14 months under mini COBRA. The first initial 4 months I had, plus 14 months at the end. I hope I explained that okay. Okay, lastly, we always get asked, what's the difference between federal COBRA and also this new mini COBRA? Okay, well, again, it's only affecting groups with 20 or less employees. The employees must have been on the plan for at least 3 months. It's going to only affect medical plans. The employer does not provide a general notice. Personally, I think that's going to change at some point in time, because at no point is the spouse told that they need to notify the employer in a divorce situation because they never received general notice. So I think that's going to cause some issues. So hopefully they address that. The continuation period is 18 months for all qualifying events. They mention in the law separation and legal separation in different places throughout the law. So at some point, they're probably going to address it and make it one or the other. When it is renewal time, the notification that goes out explaining the new rates and open enrollment material, basically, that has to go to both qualifiers and participants, whereas with the federal law, it's just for participants. Only the dependents can receive the 11-month extension during the, if considered disabled. Lastly, that employees and dependents who are eligible for Medicare are not eligible for mini COBRA, and that's not the case with federal. There's also some enhancements for active duty employees, and there's a lot more that I'm not going to go into, but I think that gives you a good understanding that these two, meaning COBRA, federal COBRA, and mini COBRA, they are not the same. So that pretty much ends the presentation on the new law. And now what I want to do is kind of go through and explain what our solution is to it. You know, you're really going to have a couple different solutions. Number one, you can get a TPA to do this, or number two, you can take our approach and use software. Again, that software is housed on the employer's machine and it's self-administered. Okay? We feel that the key is going to be education. You know, how often is an employer going to have an employee experience a qualifying event? You know, we don't think it's going to be too terribly often. And what are they going to do when it occurs? They're either going to give you a call or they're going to call the carrier. So what we're going to do with our software is we're going to provide a presentation very similar to what I've just gone through. So at least they can make some educated decisions on what they have to do next. Okay, so with the end of that presentation, what I want to do is I want to show you the website that we've created for the Arizona Mini COBRA. And basically, it's just a website that's going to provide information on the law. So if I just go ahead and click here, it's going to print out basically everything that I just went over right now. Okay, so we think this is a good piece to provide for education. It also talks about the software itself. Okay, kind of shows pictures, what it's going to do, why they should buy this, and possibly look at us versus a TPA, because you are comparing apples and oranges at that point. If you have any questions, feel free to go into the contact page. You can go ahead and just contact us, email us your questions, and then we'll go ahead and get back to you. And then lastly, here's where you're going to purchase the software. Now, the cost of the software is $249. That is a one-time purchase of the software. Then what we do is we charge a $99 per year fee to keep everything up to date. As with any law, there are court cases, there's just adjustments made by legislature and so forth, to where we're going to have to change the software as well as the notifications. So we do charge a fee for that, but I think you're going to find we're considerably less than a third-party administrator. BGA is going to receive a discount. Their brokers will be will be receiving a code so that when they go to purchase it, they enter in their code and their clients will receive a discount. It's going to be roughly a 10% discount, bringing it down to about $225. So hopefully that answers your question on the pricing. Okay, next what I want to do is I want to go through the software itself. I'm just going to go ahead and bring it up. And this is what your employer group is going to see when they start the program. What I have done is I have entered in some information so that you don't have to watch me, hunt and peck and type stuff in. And the program is going to have menu items up top, kind of old school, and it also has icons that the people can click on, however they want to perform the procedures. Okay. Most people are finding this a little easier than using the menu items. What we have done is we have classified the different types of employees as COBRA qualifiers. And COBRA qualifiers, what they are basically employees or dependents of who's experienced a qualifying event. Next, we have COBRA participants. And COBRA participants were COBRA qualifiers, but they have elected to continue and are going to make premium payments. Okay, so that's kind of the two different types of people you're going to have. When you start the program, it's going to ask you for company information, and since I'm a big golf nut, I went ahead and just put in some information on the PGA, okay, just general information on the company, and then also insurance plan information. Okay, so I've gone ahead and put some information on a Blue Cross and Blue Shield PPO and entered in the rates here. You'll notice the rates only go through 12/31. After a while, I will be in the software and it's going to tell me to go ahead and upload the next year's rates. Okay. Where am I going to be told that? Well, it's in our things to do list. This is the brains of the software. It's going to tell the employer what he's got to do on any given day. So since premiums are pretty much done on a monthly basis, he's going to want to start this once a month, usually around the beginning of the month, so that if he has someone that hasn't paid in a timely fashion, he can terminate them from the Mini COBRA. For demonstration purposes, I went ahead and I entered in Phil Mickelson as a COBRA qualifier. Okay, I'm just going to open his file so that you can kind of see the information that needs to be entered into the system. Okay, it's going to talk about the qualifying event, the date that it was experienced, just general information, you know, name, address, the plan that they have enrolled on, dependent information. Okay. With this, the system was going to be able to produce the notification. Now, I will tell you that even if you have a third-party administrator, somehow this information's got to get to them. So in other words, they're either going to be writing it on a sheet and faxing it to the TPA or emailing them, or they're just going to enter it into our system, click the OK, and in their things to do list, it's going to say send the qualifying event letter to them. All I have to do is double click on the item, loads the word processor, inputs the variable information so that it is addressed to the individual, it's personalized. It also says what event was experienced, who's eligible to continue. It also will tell them what their costs are under the plan. In this case, since it's going to be a prorated amount, it tells them what their proration is. This letter, we basically have taken the federal COBRA DOL qualifying event letter and modified it at this point to work for Arizona Mini COBRA. What it states in the law is the Department of Insurance is responsible for producing this template notification. We have not heard anything from them, seen anything. If you go to their website, you're not going to find anything on Mini COBRA. So we don't know where they stand, but my guess is they're going to go ahead and take what the federal government put together for federal COBRA, modify it just like we have. Okay, so it's going to be something similar to this. What happens is if Phil wants to go ahead and elect coverage, he has to return this election form, okay, selecting, what plan he wants to continue and, just circling that he wants family coverage. So when you receive this back, or I'm going to go back just a second. Okay. That's if I just printed this notification. Okay, I'm not hooked up with a printer in the office that I'm at right now. But if I sent this to the printer, I just want you to show if I opened up his letter, and let's just assume an attorney for Phil after he gets in an accident goes back to his old employer and says, hey, look, were you ever notified of your Mini COBRA rights? The employer can say, hey, look, here is the document. It's in his digital filing cabinet. I double click on it, and it's going to produce a PDF of that, proving that the employer did what they were supposed to. Okay, so let's just say I received that back from Phil. I go ahead and click on Qualifier Accepts COBRA, select him from the list. And then it just asks me some information as to when did he accept it. We'll just say today, and what plan, and coverage type. Okay. Once I click OK on his participant form, and you'll notice it's got not only does it say participant up here, but it's color coded to blue here to match the blue over here. So hopefully people don't get confused between a qualifier file and a participant file. But if I click OK, first thing it's going to do is say, hey, look, Phil is now a participant, so we've got to start collecting money from him. How can we do it? Software offers a couple different ways. One is to produce what we call a monthly coupon booklet. What it does is it's going to produce a notice that you would send out that allows them to tear these off at the dotted lines, and they would send this in along with their check in the amount of that. And it'll tell the dates that they're covered and so forth. So when you receive one of these, you know what to do with it. Okay? As you can see, he's got one for October, November, and December. After that, it stops. People say, well, why doesn't it print out more? You can continue for 18 months. Well, the answer is, we don't know what the renewal rates are yet. We haven't entered them into the system. So once those rates are entered into the system, you can go ahead and print another year's worth of coupons for Phil. Okay, so now he has gone from being a COBRA qualifier to a COBRA participant. And most likely, he's going to send you some money. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in his payment. date. Okay, so that's what I'm going to be doing when I receive payment, and then on our bill, it's going to show Phil's COBRA mini COBRA person, and we would just go ahead and pay that bill. I can bring up his review so that you can look at all the payments that he received. Okay, it's going to tell you that he had premiums for October and for November. He made a check payment today, and his balance is 0, so that he is paid through 11/30 as of right now. Now, it's only showing me 2 months because that's all the time frame he has been on COBRA. So we're going to go ahead and just look at someone like Tiger, who just so happens to have been put on back in March. Okay, so it's going to have all of his premium and his payments made all the way up until, you'll see that his last payment was made in September. He had a 0 balance at the end of September, but we never received anything after that. So it shows that he's only paid through 9/30. Well, that's not good because he hasn't met the grace period of 30 days to make his payment. So that is why you're going to see up here that Tiger Woods should be terminated for non-payment. I'm going to go ahead and just double click on it, and it's going to say, okay, he's been terminated to 9/30, the last day that we had received payments for. I click OK, and now it says send him a letter. So we go ahead, double click on that, enters his information, sends him a notice saying, hey, look, you didn't pay in time, you've been removed from mini COBRA, and here's just proof of health insurance. Okay. Lastly, a lot of times people will call us and ask us, you know, hey, look, Freddie Couples just walked into my office. He said, you know what, this insurance stuff, my portion of it is costing too much. I can't afford it anymore. Take me off. Is that a qualifying event? And so we kind of walk through and try to explain, you know, okay, what event could it be? Well, it isn't a qualifying event. It doesn't meet the ones that were provided in the law. But we do provide a place where you can enter them in so that at least they can receive a notification explaining, hey, look, you know, both Freddie and his spouse or whatever, you came into my office, you want it to be removed, and this is just telling you that that's been done. Excuse me. So, once I produce that letter, my list is cleared, I'm done for the day, no more mini COBRA administration. The system's going to go ahead and produce reports for you. You know, I can just bring up some just so you can get a feel for it, but there's about 20 different reports that's going to document everything that the employer has done to administer the law correctly. Okay, so let's take a look at everything. Again, this is not, COBRA Solutions is not a TPA. We are not going to do the administration. Your employer group is going to purchase the software, download it onto their equipment. It is not a website. Their employee information is not going to be held out on the web. Okay, so now I have shown you, I've talked about the law, what it is. I've showed you a website where you can go to. You can also download a brochure from that website. That brochure is on the home page, just right here. Okay, so you can go ahead and print this out for your client. I'm not going to tell you it has a ton of information, but what it basically is going to do is it's going to direct them to the correct website. I have also shown you how the software is going to be handling everything to do with Arizona Mini COBRA. We have 25 years of experience with federal COBRA. To date, we have never been involved in a lawsuit, so, excuse me, hopefully that speaks volumes for us. So now what I want to do is I'm going to kind of start looking at the chat message where you can enter your questions, and I will go ahead and try to respond to them. Okay, as I go through, one of the questions is, if the company is bankrupt, how can the COBRA be offered when the plan would be terminated? Great question. I've been doing this for 25 years under federal COBRA. Never seen that qualifying event in use. I don't know why they put it there. It has to do with retirees and being able to continue, but you know, quite frankly, I don't know if they'd have to keep the plan open for those retirees. But the carrier probably would be the best one to talk to about that. Good question, though. What suggestion do you have for groups moving from Arizona Mini to federal COBRA? Well, they can move up to our software that administers federal COBRA. Very similar. It's going to have the look and feel of this. So once they've learned this, they walk right into the federal administration package and know what to do. Does Mini COBRA require an initial COBRA notification when enrolled on insurance? As I stated earlier, it does not. The law does not state that any type of general notice or initial notification goes out. We think that causes some problems and wouldn't be surprised if in the future they make it mandatory. But as of today, it is not. And that is all the questions I have in the chat box. Whoops, another one just came in, I think. Okay, they keep coming in. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. Okay. Are there any pre-populated carrier reinstatement forms to notify them? I'm not quite sure. You know, because what would happen is once someone is on COBRA, then you would be sending them the coupons. Excuse me, I've been talking too much today. So that would probably be the only thing that you would have to give them. Can the initial notice be sent out even if not required? Sure. What are the penalties for non-compliance? There are none. Oh, excuse me. They have not implemented the fines that you would receive is not the issue. The issue is when you have an employee, you don't offer them the right to continue, they get in an accident, they get a lawyer, that lawyer comes back to the employer and says, hey, look, I want to see the Mini COBRA offering. And if you didn't provide it, are you going to be required to pay that claim? I don't know. That's going to be decided in court. Okay, the web address. That is azminicobra.com. Okay, again, azminicobra.com. Can the software capture the actual postmark image for notification proof? Yes, what we do is we'll have people go ahead and scan that, and then go ahead and just use this add, and they can go ahead and add the file directly into the digital filing cabinet so that you could go ahead and show that you did put the correct postage on it and send it out. Was this law created for me and COBRA Solutions? Well, we'd like to think so, but we are also hearing that there's a possibility, and we have no confirmation, that United Healthcare may provide a service to do this, as well as Blue Cross Blue Shield. We heard that this morning, but that's the first I've heard of it. Okay, received a thank you. Feel better. I'm sorry. I just, speaking for a couple hours today has done me in. Okay, thank you. The $99 fee covers help using the system, and the answer is yes. What they can do is they can go ahead, call us, and we'll walk them through getting done whatever they want to. Now, as I stated earlier, that the education is kind of the key here, and what we're going to do with the software, we're going to provide them that presentation that I've gone through explaining the law, as well as the videos on how to operate the software. So hopefully they won't have a need to know how to enter the information. Is there ongoing training for HR folks? Again, our thought is qualifying events are going to happen fairly rarely. So they're going to call in, they're going to say, hey, look, I just had someone terminate. What should I do? And then we can just walk it through in the software. I don't know how much training they're going to need, but we're there to help them through it. Okay, that is my last question. Unless there are any more, you got just a second to get that in. Again, if you have any clients that have to take care of federal COBRA and they want to look for an alternative solution, you can go to cobrasolutions.com and download a demonstration of our COBRA product to take a look at it. I think I'm not seeing any more. Wait a second, got another one. Are you not eligible if you were eligible for any other coverage? The answer to that is you are not eligible. If you've received other coverage, whether it be group plan or individual, you're not allowed to continue under mini COBRA. Okay, well, hopefully I've answered all your questions. If not, feel free to give me a call at my office. My phone number is 480-820-9101, and I'm on extension 12. And I promise not to cough in your face all the time. Okay, we're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you very much. Screen off, recording off. Okay. This off.